All right, we are live. Let's get this. Let's get this thing posted everywhere. Copy, Twitter, website, jollyrogerukulele.com. This is lesson 14 of the Foundation series. And whoops, paste, shift, link, enter, edit, settings, open in a new window, update and update. So that gets people in here. Today is No, today is happy birthday. Today we're doing happy birthday. Is today Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. Happy birthday. How funny. I was doing happy birthday in harmonica as well today. It's all happy birthday all the time. We'll get everybody loaded in here. Settle down. Let me know if the sound is good. We're going to make this thing great. I'm going to go post this on what do you call it? Twitter, https://jolly rogerukulele.com. Wait for my face to pop up. Add in the skull thing, Jolly Roger logo. Open. There it is. There's the tweet. Okay, tweet is complete. There I am. Just delightful. Let's see. Uh, let's see. All right, so Twitter is not the least bit entertaining at the moment. Let me close this window out and let me close that window out. So it's just us. Today, we're working on Happy Birthday. Um, and this has suddenly gotten, layout got weird on us here. No, it didn't. It's fine. Amazing Grace yesterday, right? Happy birthday today. Tomorrow, La Cucaracha, the day after, all through the night. And then on Friday, we play all of those along with the Make a Better Bar worksheet, so that truthfully, by this Friday, you guys will be bulletproof. You will know exactly everything you're supposed to do. Whether you can do it or not will be another issue. That will always depend on how much you work on it, probably, or how talented you are. Nobody's talented in music. Everybody has to work at it. There's every now and then you'll see a kid on 60 Minutes and he'll be 7 years old. He can play Chopin, right? And they're like, wow, I guess some people are talented, but that's not us, right? That kid, there's like seven of those. The rest of us have to work. LeBron James had to work. Tiger Woods had to work. Uh, Lady Gaga had to work. I'm not trying to think of who else is talented. Good morning, everybody. Diane says the sound is good, and Diane knows good sound. Bruce, cold and wet in Virginia. Sound is good. Baritone has new strings and new life. Yay, right? It's amazing, guys. And we'll talk about this. What time is it? We can talk about it right this moment. Your ukulele probably comes with white strings. Okay, these strings, they're white, and that's what all of them are coming with these days. It's fine. It's absolutely fine for 6 months. After that, you got to get rid of those because they're not really fine. We just tell you they're fine. You want to have fluorocarbon on your instrument. And so when you're getting ready to change it out, go to Amazon and look at the names of the packages. The two that I use on virtually everything, I have a bulk string that I ordered that's fluorocarbon. That's amazing. You actually can use it to go tarpon fishing as well. Then there is Savaris strings. They make a tremendous string. I put that on almost everything. Martin strings are also fabulous. I use those. I tend to use Martin strings on soprano ukuleles and concert ukuleles, not so much on tenor ukuleles, just a personal preference. Um, and then there's a million other string brands out there. Don't be confused, right? Don't be confused. The guy that built your ukulele does not also have a brand of strings. He's buying the bulk string that I buy, cutting it up and sticking it in a package. But I do know Martin has a string factory and Savaris has a string factory. They actually create them and make them specifically for what we need them for. And at the end of the day, it's fishing wire on here. And there's a lot of websites that'll tell you different. It's not. It's the same exact stuff produced in the same exact factory by the same exact methods. And so there are a few other name brands out there that are kind of popular these days. Living Waters is fairly popular right now. Worth has been popular. But again, don't be confused by that. Okay. There's very few people producing strings and lots of people buying bulk string, cutting it up, putting it in a package with their own name on it, and giving it to you. So in any event, if you have white strings or black strings on your ukulele or baritone, you can do better by switching them out to fluorocarbon. Donna's here. Good afternoon, Donna. Lynn made it in to New Jersey. Everybody's got crummy weather today. Let's see. So it's raining in Virginia. It's snowing and cold here in Denver. Lakewood is, Donna is in Lakewood. She's just west of me. Lynn is in New Jersey. It's yucky there. Greg, how's your weather? You didn't tell us. Hello, Greg. Dennis, -3 and snowing in Toronto. Pretty rough day up there in Toronto. Jim, thanks for sharing last night. I was exciting to hear your voice and see your face. It's 2 degrees. This is Jim's. See, this is what happens when you live in northern Alberta, Canada. It's 2 degrees, which is cold, like ridiculous cold. And he's like, yeah, it's a nice day outside. Good to see you, Jim. Let's see. Linda's down in Colorado Springs. She's got snow down there, just like I do up here. David, snowing in Michigan. We've got snow everywhere. That's exciting. Rob, 61 and sunny in East Texas. Probably good to be bulletproof. Yeah, right. It's always fine in Texas until summertime, and then it's 9,000 degrees. But in the winter, Texas is a pretty good place to be, right? Janice is in Scotland. Rain, and more rain. I say this all the time. I was in Scotland for 2.5 weeks one time, sunny every single day. And they're like, it's not usually like this. And I'm like, I bet you're lying to have me not move here. It rains there all the time. Lynn, I'm not talented and stubborn. I'm pretty talented and stubborn. Jim, thank you for your performance last night. It was cool. Yeah, it was fun, right? We had a good time last night. Mary G is in Golden. It's chilly out there. A little snow for her. Connie, still snowing in Broomfield. Nancy in Florida. Here's Florida. Okay, here's what Florida is. Perfect in Florida. Off to the pool for a dip after the lesson. Nancy, I want to fight you right now. And Pam, welcome in. Pam is snowing in Connecticut. All right, guys. So most of you are getting snow. Those of us below the Mason-Dixon line, you guys are a little better off today than the rest of us. I don't know. I'm actually, because I'm so worried about global warming, I love seeing snow. And especially now that I live in a condo and I don't have to shovel it, I'm really very for rain and snow. I'm pro rain and snow. Those of you guys that live in wet areas, you're like, I don't know what he's talking about. But out here in the West, we've had quite a bit of a drought. Let's see. Jim says, quick question. Any suggestions on a reasonable source I could connect with to coach me in arranging the rose for baritone? So I did get your email, Jim, and the rose is on my list of things to do, and I'm hoping that I will get to it. But if I were going to give somebody a coaching advice on arranging anything, the first thing I would do is the first thing I do, and I don't do it any other way. You know how you go to your ukulele favorite website or your ukulele strum along and they hand out the sheet music. And on there is poorly typed words with poorly typed in chord names, and that's it, right? So you have the words and the chords, and that's it. When I was a young and enthusiastic ukulele arranger, I would take those and then I would sit down and I'd figure out all the notes. All right. Happy birthday to you. And then I'd go back. Happy birthday to you. And then I'd write those down. And it would take me about 3 days to figure out the melody, and then I would then go back and then I would add in the chords and then I would line everything up and then I would do my arrangements that way. And that is brutal. Don't do it that way. What I do is I go buy a good copy of the sheet music. I want it to have the chords on it. I want it to have the singer's melody line, and if I can get it with the piano accompaniment, that's what I want. And then I sit down and I use software. If you guys have not downloaded MuseScore, it's free, and that's a good place to start learning how to type in music into standard notation line. And MuseScore also allows you to add a ukulele tablature line. So that would be the first thing I do is I would buy MuseScore and I would buy a decent copy of the actual sheet music. And then I would start this long and lonely journey that I have been on now for 20 years of arranging, taking what's out there and then cleaning it up and fitting it on and finding a way to make it fit onto my instrument. Now, if you are a pianist, you never do that. You can buy perfectly good sheet music. If you're a guitarist, uh, well, that's not true with guitar, but for piano, for sure, you would never arrange your own piano sheet music because what's out there is fabulous, and so there's no reason to do that. But with ukulele, we don't have, and sounds a little egotistical, but if you want good ukulele sheet music, you pretty much got to come to me. There's a couple other people out there doing good stuff, but not at this level, right? So it's not that they're not trying, right? It's that they just haven't been doing it as long as I have. I have some tricks, right? I know what works and what doesn't at this point, um, for the most part. Um, but you're going to need software. You can't, it's too hard to do it by pencil. Now, the first ones I did were by pencil, and it was really brutal, and you erase a lot. um, and then, so I got software. Now, MuseScore is free. I don't use MuseScore. I use Finale Music, but it's super expensive, and I don't necessarily recommend it to you unless you're very serious about writing a lot of music. And then you really don't have a choice. It's the only software out there that's worth owning. But the MuseScore is pretty good, and it's free. And so then what I do is I go in and I type in the melody, and I make sure that the melody works. Just the melody. Don't type in anything else. You don't need any of the other notes. Just type in da da da. How does the rose go? I don't remember. Da 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 da. Whatever, right? And you type it into an actual state. Use the regular standard notation. Type it all in. Then you go through and play it a million times until it sounds exactly like what the singer sounds like you want it to sound like. And then I go back through and I add in all the chords. Okay. And a lot of times I have to change chords. Okay. But I'm still working off the original sheet music. So I get the melody line in and I get the chords in. And that's when I start thinking about, okay, now does this fit on a ukulele? Are the notes too low? Are they too high? And I start having to adjust the key to get that to fit on the ukulele. Lots and lots and lots of songs that will show up that you want to arrange are not in the right key. And almost always, not always, but almost always, I can't use the original key because it fits on a piano, it fits on somebody's voice, but it doesn't necessarily fit on the ukulele. And so I will end up adjusting the keys. It's not uncommon for me to have to adjust the melody to raise it or lower it, to actually rewrite parts of the melody to make them fit and stay on the ukulele fretboard. We only have an octave and a half and it's very common for songs to go beyond that. And so you've got to find a way to get it on here. Then what typically happens is, oh, it fits on here, but it's in E flat or it's in C sharp or it's in some wacko key. And then then I got to start dealing with how do I adjust the melody and the keys so that they're playable. That's a whole separate pass through on that. Once I am positive the melody fits on here, that the chords make sense with the music, that everything's going to work on a ukulele, then I have to go through and start building the tough acts part, which is about, all right, it's a C chord, but the melody notes were right here. So how do I do that? Well, right, that's an easy one. But what if it's an F chord, and the melody note's here, right? So now I've got to know not just this chord, but I also have to know F chords up the neck. Okay, so that's the next step in your adventure into creating instrumental music. Is you're not going to be fine with just this F chord. You're not going to be fine with just this C chord. You have to know more of them up the neck. I use software called Ukulele Fretboard on my phone. It's tremendous. I don't think they have it for iPhone, but iPhone's got something similar. I'm sure one of those will be able to help you with chords that go up the neck. So there's that goes into it. So there's a number of steps that I go through to create these arrangements. By far, the most difficult is once you have the melody typed in and once you're pretty sure you know what chords you want to go with that melody, then forcing it onto our teeny tiny fretboard. That's where I spend most of my time. The other thing that happens as a newer arranger is you have an unrealistic expectation that what's going to come out of your ukulele sounds exactly like what you've heard on the radio. And that's not going to happen either. So, for example, with Beatles music, all the boomers say, hey, I want to play, my favorite Beatles song is blah, and I want to play it on ukulele. And I say, okay, I can arrange that for you when I'm 64 or whatever on ukulele. But you have to agree that it's not going to sound like what it sounded like when you listened to it on the radio 4,000 times when you were 23. It's not going to sound like that. And I have had any number of Beatles fans and are like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think that's going to work. And it's, you got to be honest about that. If you're going to fit the rose onto this fretboard, it's not going to sound like Bette Midler singing it. It's going to sound like you're plucking it out on a ukulele, and there's going to be compromises that have to be made in that process. Danny Boy is a perfect example. Danny Boy fits either too low on this thing or too high. It's really challenging to fit this on that song on here, and so I often have to make adjustments with songs like that to fit them on here. And so I would say overall, if you are going to do arrangements, I encourage it. I think it's a smart thing for you, but I wouldn't start with super high level complicated music. I would start much simpler than that. Find a Christmas song, find a kid's song, find something where you can get used to running the software that has a rational number of chords, that the voicing, doesn't get real high or real low. If you start with one of these songs that you love on the radio, you're going to get into a pickle pretty quick, and it's not the way you should start. I encourage you, right? And I want to root you on, but there is a relatively you don't become a music arranger just because you own the software and have the original sheet music. That's just the beginning. If you have a piano and you have the unlimited number of notes, you're probably going to be relatively successful. Guitar is a little easier to arrange in some ways and a little harder in others because I got more notes on that. Ukulele presents a really unique challenge in that you've got, this is your lowest note and this is your highest usable note. If it doesn't fit on between those two spaces, then you have to start thinking about what you know musically to fit it on there. And then the other thing, of course, is that it's certainly in the beginning, if your music theory is really, really strong, you're going to need to study up on the circle of fifths. And all right, so it's in the key of C right now, but I need it in the key of G or key of F, key of B flat. What does that mean for how the other chords go? And that's where software helps you out a ton. So kind of a long discussion about that, but I would say for sure, Jim, if you want to arrange the rows, I would start with Three Blind Mice. I would start with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I do one of those so you can learn the software, so you can learn that process of typing in the melody, learn that process of getting on the chords, learn that process of adjusting the key so it fits conveniently onto the ukulele before you tackle a full-on high-level pop tune like that. Because I will tell you, every single pop tune I do, every single one, I have to make certain compromises to keep it on this instrument. And I've gotten pretty good at hiding those compromises, but they're there. And so it's a large undertaking, and I would say download MuseScore, get yourself a decent ukulele blank going with the sheet music with the melody line and tablature on it, and then go through and start with something much simpler and do that. Dennis says Guitar Pro app for iPhone can show you the chords up the neck. Even though it's called Guitar Pro, you can adjust the app for you. Okay, so there's a good opportunity. Go check out that Guitar Pro app for iPhone, and then see if that works for you. Finding the chords up the neck. Eventually, if you hang out with me, you're gonna have them all memorized because we do tons and tons of stuff with bar chording. And so this is a C chord, right? But it's also a C sharp, a D sharp, an E, an F sharp, and a G. Right. And so that's going to be one of those things that you get where you're like, well, it's a C chord, but it could be lots of other chords as well. Janice is helpful going through the sheets of paper trying to arrange a tune. Yeah, I would say the one thing that people tend to do is put the cart before the horse when they start arranging. You want to arrange this super fancy, exciting song you love from your childhood or your early 20s or whatever. That's the song you want to do. The song you probably need to do is a couple of much easier songs to get started with, to learn what happens as you create the arrangements. Other than teaching, that's all I do all day long is make arrangements. And I will tell you, there's never been a song, never, that just drops into the paper and is like, there, easy as pie. You know, even kids' songs will put up a fuss. Inevitably, a note shows up in the melody that isn't in the chords, and you're like, oh, now what do I do? Or it goes too far up the neck, and you're like, I don't like that. I got to put it in a different key. So lots of stuff happens when you're doing that. So definitely, for me, it's been very rewarding. For most of the people that I work with, there's about 100 people in our orchestra. We have about 6 that are willing to put up with the pain and suffering of creating sheet music for ukulele. So it's not for everybody by any sense. Um, Tune is believe me, if all those endearing young charms. It's beautiful. Yeah, see, and that's the nice thing that you get to pick songs that you know that are beautiful that maybe have been forgotten or nobody else knows. Grab one of those and try that. And Jim says, very nice. Thank you for the realistic guidance. And I'm not trying to talk you out of it. I think it's something everybody should do, but I do think you want to start smaller than that. I started on a lot of Christmas music, I think, if I remember right. I know that I did a horrible arrangement of Moon River right off the bat, which was not the right thing to do. But I know that I then switched to doing some Christmas tunes, and Christmas tunes cooperate pretty well with going on to this. Pick those songs that, you know how when you buy a book of music and there's this one song keeps showing up over and over and over and over, and you don't know the song, you're like, what the heck is this song? And you finally go, it's because it works. And so that's why those songs keep showing up. All right, a little bit longer discussion about how to arrange music than I anticipated. I anticipated talking 0 minutes about it, but let's go grab Happy Birthday. Let's talk about we can use this as a good example. I just dropped my gadget on the floor. I hope it still works. It does. Let's grab that. Let's just talk a little bit. We know how happy, like you're sitting there and you're like, hey man, I love Happy Birthday. That's my favorite song. And let me grab it let's do, since I got a ukulele wrapped around my neck right now, let's do it on ukulele first, and then we'll go back through and double check it on baritone. But so you know the tune, you're like, all right, I want to make Happy Birthday for ukulele. And give me a second here. This thing's not going very quickly. I gotta pull it and get it here. E, F, G. I'm down to the G's, guys. We got too much music in this program. Happy Birthday. Okay. So you say, all right, I'm going to make my personal arrangement of Happy Birthday. I'm going to use Gary's sheet music, and then I'm going to make it my way. Okay, so you would grab my piece of sheet music, and this would be a perfect place to start. And you pull up your software and you type in. I would use the melody line up there with the standard notation: eighth note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, half note, eighth note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, half note, and I'd put in that line into the software. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Joe Schmo, happy birthday to you. Once I get that typed in, and every software, all the software out there that's free will do that. But MuseScore is by far the biggest community right now, and it's what they call GNU project. So it's all the source code on that's all open, and people keep adding and making it better. It's definitely better when it first came out. It's not great. There are lots of things about it that are not great, but it is free and it's pretty good. So I would type in that line, then I would go in and I'd say, all right, now how do I add chords? So I'd add in all of my chords, and then I'd say, all right, now how do I create a ukulele tablature line? So I'd learn how to do that, and I would save that as a blank, right? Because you're going to always want to work on your master blank until you're about done with the song, and then you copy it into Happy Birthday. I work on my blank always because I wanted to learn all the chords. I wanted to learn, I wanted make my blank as smart as possible. Once I get my blank really smart and get the song typed in the way I want it, then I will save it as whatever the song is. And then the next song I come back with, I work on the blank again to help teach it more chords. On this particular piece of music, once I get the melody typed in and the chords typed in, then I go through and I play it, right? Okay, pretty playable on a ukulele, but it's not. But then especially if you're a singer, and Jim, I know you do some singing. Maybe these chords are good for your voice, maybe not. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe Schmo. Happy birthday to you. And you may say, that's too high or too low for my voice. What if I put it in a different key? Okay, and so then you start thinking, all right, I don't know if I do it in D. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe. Schmo, 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 Joe Schmo. Happy birthday to you. May or may not be better, may be worse. But when you change the key, it also changes where the notes are on your fretboard. And so you're going to have to be aware, does all of a sudden they drop off the bottom because the notes go too low? Especially for men, we have this problem. Our voices are lower, so we are constantly trying to play lower on the ukulele. Pretty soon it doesn't fit on there. And so we end up with the ukulele singing an octave higher than our singing voices. Women don't run into that quite as often, but men for sure. This instrument's a little too high for our voices. That's where baritone ukulele can be a solution. And so just be aware of that as you start to change keys. It'll either go too low or too high, possibly on the fretboard. Now, if we were talking about this just as a piece of music, which is what we're here to do, really, is we'd say, all right, so Gary's got the tune in there. Makes sense. That sounds like what I want it to do. Now I have to learn how to play it, okay? And Gary says, all right, let's first go through and make sure the chords make sense. So we've got our G chord. We learned that day 2, right? Happy birthday to, and then you have this D7, and this comes, remember we're working on our Make a Better bar worksheet. We did that on day 3, I think, and then we're going to add in either your middle finger or your ring finger. Either one of those is fine. A lot of times when I started, I would put my ring finger here, bar here, and then my middle finger, use that to smash down your bar. Okay, and that's not a bad habit. It's just a helpful way to do that. You'll either lay it straight on top of the bar or use it as kind of like this. Help hold the bar down. So it's happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to, back to your G chord, you. Happy birthday, dear Joe. And then you just lift up your bar. Schmo. Happy G chord. Birthday to, and on that 2, this is a different shape of a D7. To you. Now, why does D7 have 2 different shapes? One of the things you're going to get used to as an instrumentalist is lots of chords have lots of different shapes along here. This is an F chord. This is also an F chord. This is an F chord. Okay, so there's 3 F chords right off the bat. C chord. Here's a 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 C chord. So they're all over the place. And so don't get too settled into, this is the way I always do this particular chord. So this D7 works really well when we get down to the tough acts. But this D7 works much better at the last moment in the song because the melody note is open. And so you're going to be using lots of different shapes of chords with the same name. You'll also often have a chord that has a shape that has more than one name. So if you just strum it open, that's an A minor 7th, or it's a C6. And the way you'll know, you will never really know probably, but if whoever wrote the sheet music knows what they're doing, there's a music theory why this might be a C6 or it might be an A minor 7, depending on what else is going on in the song. And so don't get overly hooked into the fact that this will always be D7, because right here at the very bottom of the song, this is a D7. If you go to a strum along and it just says, I've been working on a railroad, and then you see a D7 and you don't know which D7 to use, I always use the easier one, right? In the beginning, I was like, I should use this one because it's harder to do. It must be better. But these days, whatever's the easiest is what I do. Next is, so when we have all those chords, when you're learning the song, don't try to play the song in pace at speed, right? So when you're learning, happy birthday to, and then be mindful. Get your brain out of the paper and onto your fingers and say, what's the easiest way to get from G chord to D7? Happy birthday to, stretch this out. Middle finger sort of gets pushed over onto that. You. Happy birthday to. There. Just lead with your middle finger coming back. Index finger drops down. Ring finger jumps on. You. Happy birthday, dear. Again. Joe. And then just drop your bar. Mo. Happy. Notice the chord doesn't change before happy. Your happy is still on the C chord. Happy. Pull this back. G chord on. Birthday. And then this goes up here. Two. And then right back. You. So when I'm learning the chords of a song, I don't care what the rhythm is. I'm thinking about what is my fingers going to do. In this case, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe Schmo. Happy birthday to you. Then I would sit, if I'm struggling with chords, and a lot of times we struggle with G chord when we first start because there's a lot of stuff to get on. We also struggle with this chord, bar, with your middle finger down here because we get that sound, okay? So you're going to that's going to happen to you. Now, if you're on baritone and you're playing and you're going to accompany a ukulele player in this, you actually have an easier road to go. Your G chord's right here, right? Happy birthday to you, right? Your G chord's there. Your D7 is pretty easy to get to, and your C chord is pretty easy to get to. So when we're playing in the key of G, baritones have an easier set of chords than the ukulele players have. So now I've got my chords in place. Let's see. Linda just walked in. I'm late. My birthday is on Sunday. Happy. I know. I heard you broke your wrist on Sunday, so I'm coming. So I'm out of commission. Music is for therapeutic. So listen. How did you break your wrist, Linda? Can we ask? Seriously, that's not good. What are you doing? She lives in California, and everything is perfect in California. So there must have been a glitch in the matrix to have you break your wrist. Now, looking at the ukulele version of this, we are going to have the baritone players back us up. Baritone players, when it says G chord, okay, when it says D7, and when it says C, those are your shapes, right? Ukulele players, we're going to play the melody. Okay, so you're just on the melody line. I see twos, I see threes, and I see a 5, and that's the only notes I have. So, boom, second position, twos, threes, 5s. Those are the fingers you're going to use. Ring finger's just going to hang out here and do nothing. Okay, and so my middle fingers now on those, our index fingers on these twos, right? Okay, and so we're going to play 2, 2, 0, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 0, 2, 0, 3, 2, 2, pinky 5, 2, 3, 2, 0. And notice above schmo, there's a little cyclops eye. That's called a fermata, and that means you're going to hold that note longer than you're supposed to. Schmo, and you know how long you're supposed to because you've sung Happy Birthday for your entire life. Then the 3, happy, and then 2, 3, 0, birthday to you. Now, baritone players are like, this is easy. I'm not going to have any problem with that. Baritone players are going to give us 3 strums in each measure. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe Schmo. And then you got a whole letter ring. You're not going to strum on this next happy. Happy. And then you are going to strum 2 beats. Birthday. And then a D7, 2. And then G, U. Now make sure, baritone players, you're not playing those chord shapes. You're playing the chord shapes up here in the upper left-hand corner. And then we're going to sound amazing. Okay. So at our, if you're a baritone player, you're going to sound incredible. If you're a ukulele player, you're just playing the melody. Okay, but the baritone players can hear both parts because they're going to do the chords and you're going to do the melody for them. Okay, here we go. From the top, 1, 2. Hold it. Don't strum baritones and then go. Now strum. Okay, one more time. Ukulele players on melody, baritone on chords, a little bit faster. 1, 2, strum, strum. Okay, there's your melody. Okay, notice the arrangement of there. Lowest note is this one, highest note's this one. Fits pretty conveniently on a ukulele. We were talking about earlier about, hey, how do you arrange a song? This is going to fit just fine in this area, and so those chords work and all that. Now, does it work with your voice? It depends. If you're a singer, maybe this works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's too low, maybe it's too high. All right, then ukulele players. The baritone players are going to continue to do the same thing they were doing before, just 3 strums per measure: G, 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 D7, 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 G, 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 G. That's what the baritone players are doing. Now, you guys on ukulele are now going to do the chord and the melody at the same time. Okay, so let's walk through it pretty quickly. Let's do 2 2s and then 0 2 0. So you don't need to change anything over here yet. One more 2. If you've got your G chord on, that 3 is next to you press that, and then you're going to put 2 2 2. You could either put a bar on, or you can put a regular D chord on. Doesn't matter as long as you can get 2 2 2 down, and then hit more 2. Don't move anything because the next you got 2 more 2s, and then I grabbed this because I knew what was coming. Right? You just lift your ring finger up, but if you're on here, you just can change to these. Hold these 2 2s and the 0 down. Hit the 2. 0 is already open, and then back to your G chord, 0 2 3. You're probably going to see this a billion times in your life. 0 2 3. Okay, and then hit the 2s. You're already holding them down. And I have to take your pinky up to the 5. Reach. It's a little ow, right? Ow, that hurts. Okay, put your pinky on 5. Leave your G chord on. Pinky on 5. Get your pinky off. Hit your 0 2 3. Okay, rest stroke on the first string, and then switch over to 2 2 2. And you could do a bar if you want. And then nothing, 0 0 0, and hit 2 3s, G chord, hit the 3. Here's why you have the other D7 here, 2 0 2 0. That's exactly the sound we want for this song. And then put your G chord back on in 0 2 3. Okay, baritone players, give us 3 strums per measure. Ukulele players, if you are newer, thumb down is fine. I'm going to do a claw shape to make it sound a little bit different texture than we've been doing. And if you've been around a while, you should be grabbing a claw or a thumb, doesn't matter. One time through, this is it for ukulele, then we'll switch to baritone. 1, 2. Strum. Hold it for just a second and then go. Okay. Baritone houses, that sounded pretty cool because they are playing a different texture than I'm playing, and they've got chords, they got chord melody, they got a ukulele pitch, and they got a baritone pitch. Everything's coming together pretty slick. Sounds really nice. And they're just like, yeah, we're pretty legit. The hardest part when you play that slow, if you're the strumming person, is to keep the beat steady. G, G, G. Happy birthday to, change chords, you, strum. So it's hard when you're strumming slowly. Now let's switch to the baritone sheet, and we'll play the happy birthday the other way. Okay. Back out, baritone. Hold on, sorry about that. Wrong button. E, F, G, H. Happy birthday. Okay, so now when we move to baritone, the sheet music has a few things that I would change on it at this point. It's been a while since I made this piece of sheet music, but with baritones, we have a little bit different idea, but we're in a different key. Skill set's more or less the same. Okay. Ukulele players, your D chord is index, middle, ring. Happy birthday to, and your A7 is really easy. It's right here. You, happy birthday to, and then your D chord again. You, and then happy birthday, dear Joe, and then remember your G chord. Your G chord is complicated. Baritones is easy. Ukulele is hard. Schmo, happy D chord birthday to you. Those are your chords. Ukulele players, just practice. Make sure you know to get your 3 strums in. Baritones, you are going to play exactly what the ukulele players were playing in terms of shape, but it obviously comes out in a different key for you guys. Okay, so let's play the 2. Let's do the melody first. Play the 2 2s. 2 2 O, and then a 2, and then middle finger on 3. 2, and then a 2 U. Okay, 2 2 O, and then a 2 open O, and then a 3. Okay, a couple of 2s. 2 2, pinky up on 5. 5, index finger on 2, middle finger on 3. 2, and then O. Let it ring for a minute. And the 3s. Okay, so sounds pretty, right? Okay, ukulele players, give us 3 strums of a D chord, A7, or G. Those are the 3 chord shapes. From the top, 1, 2. That's it. Isn't that pretty? And so when you're working solo style, you don't really care what you don't really care what the and everybody else is going to do. You're working solo. Tough uke is your solo style. If you are working in a duet, one person takes the melody line, the other person takes the chords. You don't have to work harder than that. You just let it roll. That's why we want to play in all these different ways. So sometimes you're playing with other people, sometimes you're playing on your own. You're able to do whatever makes you happy. Now, I will mention, as we were talking with Jim earlier about, hey, arranging, the hard part is making sure it fits on your instrument. This instrument has a few extra notes. This is your low note, and this is your usable high note. So that's a little bit bigger spread, so it's a little bit easier to fit stuff onto a baritone sometimes if you have a song you're really excited about doing. The other nice thing, especially if you're a male voice and your voice is a little lower, if I do the exact, it was in the key of G when I sang Happy Birthday, basically above my ability to sing it. When I do the same exact thing on this one, now I'm in G. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe Schmo. Happy birthday to you. Right? And so it is much more singable for me. Not that I can sing anything, but it's definitely lower and closer to my range. And so that's why sometimes it's worth thinking about owning both instruments, right? You might want to have a inexpensive ukulele, inexpensive baritone, and then really, really nice expensive ones of each of those, so that when you're sitting around the house and you're just working on stuff, you pull out the cheap ones. But when you go to something, when you go to hang out with other players, you take your fancy one. So that's Happy Birthday. We talked about a lot of stuff I didn't anticipate talking about today, but the thought process here is ukulele we have no repertoire of our own. So we really do have to create it. We really do have to write it. We really do have to. So if Janice knows a song from her background that's like, hey, I want to put this on ukulele, we got to encourage that, right? But it's definitely a process. It's in and of itself. I will tell you that the amount of arranging that I do does take away time from my actual playing, practicing, performing, and not unhappily. I like arranging probably better than anything that I do. Really in life, but it does take a lot of time. And so you think about, is it worth taking my time? Maybe I should just wait until Gary does it, or kind of push Gary. Hey, Gary, could you do the rose? Do the rose. The rose is good. I should do the rose. Or Janice is saying, you know, this endearing young charm song. I think that everybody would really love it. You know, and try to sell me on arranging it. I'm always behind on arranging, and everybody. But the ones that get done are often come from suggestions from you guys. So don't be shy about saying, "Hey, I need to have this song. It's important to me." And maybe maybe it makes sense for me to do it too. Right now, I'm doing, of all things, Bruce Springsteen's "Born to Run" for baritone, and I have yet to decide if I like it on baritone or not. But it is, working on that. So it may end up in your playlist at some point. But yeah, let me know what songs you want, and I can start to put that stuff together. We're going to be doing jazz with the members this winter. We're going to be doing love songs with the next hour, and more arpeggio work. You guys have gotten started on arpeggio work, and we'll just keep pushing that forward. So we have a lot of really high level, exciting stuff coming, and I just want you guys to keep coming and keep showing up, keep checking out the website. We have a lot of work to do to make this thing where I want it to be. Come a long way in the last 9 months or whatever, but we've got quite a bit of a journey left to go, and we're going to get there. So keep showing up, keep telling me what you need and what you want, what works for you, what doesn't, and we'll go from there. You guys have a wonderful day. I hope some of you come and check out next hour. Next hour, we'll talk about the concert, what went well, what didn't go so well, and what we can do to improve for the next time we do that. And so you guys have a wonderful afternoon. I'll see some of you in the next hour, and I'll see the rest of you tomorrow. So be good. I've got to do my thing. Random act of kindness. You're planning one, right? Be safe. Practice. You're at this. We got Friday. We have a concert, right? And it's a 4-song concert, but it's really 8 songs because we'll play it 2 different ways. And so you want to be practicing both the chords and the melody, chord melody for your piece of paper for your instrument, and then the chords for the other instrument. So chords, if you have a baritone, you want to be practicing chords from the ukulele sheet, and so on. Show up, keep showing up. I'm telling you, if you keep showing up, you will be a great player. If you don't show up, it's harder. Like and subscribe if you're logged into Gmail or YouTube, and then consider becoming a member of Jolly Roger Ukulele community. It's a little bit of money, but then you get access to the member page, which is full of really good stuff, and it also gets you the sheet music for the Monday night work that we will be doing. So that's going to be all jazz this winter. Good stuff too. So I'll see all of you guys tomorrow or later on today. And let's see where we're at. Valerie says, sorry for your right hand. Well, that's true. Valerie's like, you broke a wrist. I don't want to hear it. Use your other wrist. Valerie, were you a physical therapist? That's it. Mary says, "Yay, Bruce!" All right, that's not necessarily my opinion at the moment, but I did grow up with Bruce Springsteen in the radio. I never really got into it, but I'm trying. Thanks, Ray. Have a wonderful day, Lynn. Yeah, you're welcome, Lynn. It's something I adore, and I want to encourage those of you who want to do it. But I also know that there is the flip side of it, which is maybe you don't want to do it. All right. Thanks for being here, Janice. Hope you're having hope the sun comes out for 5 minutes tomorrow. That's my hope for you, Janice. Lynn, that was interesting. Yeah. Thanks, Lynn. And Connie, you're welcome. I'll see all of you guys tomorrow, and I'm going to pull the plug.